Quote, a closer integration of ethics and computing education would produce an interdisciplinary program, where both disciplines are taught concurrently in service of the same shared goals. Each discipline remains distinct in the concepts, background, and skills that they bring to bear, that both sets are used by instructors and students to engage with the same material. In interdisciplinary computing ethics education, ethics is a skill set that is presented as a requirement for doing quality work in the computing professions, despite being different in kind from technical skills. Interdisciplinary computer ethics is perhaps easier to achieve in the context of ethics modules, which are taught in the midst of ongoing technical courses. End quote. Now, the author talks about advantages in terms of it makes it so that when you're exploring both the ethical and the technical at the same time, you are trying to unpack the impacts of computing from the programs that you are creating or the hardware software you are developing. But again, the author notes that there are some disadvantages to this approach. It can require faculty members to be able to have an expertise in both computing and ethics, or collaborating with other people who have expertise that they don't have. It can also take more time. Like I mentioned previously, a boot camp approach is very different than a broader CS approach, where in the boot camp, you might just be learning one IDE, one programming language, for the purpose of just getting a job. So all you're doing is just coding all day long. Whereas computer science, you might actually explore more than just the technical and explore some of the ethics and the impacts, as well as the theoretical. And there's a continuum clearly in between those two. And the same thing applies into K-12 education as well. So again, are you going to focus on the technical? Or are you going to focus on mainly the theoretical or the ethical? Or are you going to focus on somewhere in the middle? We'll talk about that a little bit more when I do my lingering questions and thoughts at the end of this episode. But again, it is difficult to explore these different intersections if you do not have subject area expertise in both domains. A reason why I am able to talk about with confidence the intersections of music and computer science education is because I have a background in both. So all my degrees are in music education, but then I've also taught computer science education and developed curricula, professional development, etc. for computer science educators. So because I have that experience in both domains, I can confidently go into an interdiscipline like chiptunes and be able to speak confidently about the concepts, practices, etc. that are within both domains and how they intersect or don't. Which is one of the things that many curriculum scholars don't talk about with integration is, well, what about the stuff that doesn't fit neatly within that little shared space in the Venn diagram? What about everything outside of that? But I've talked about that, ranted about it in other integrated podcast episodes linked in the show notes. This highlight is from episode 180 of the CSK8 podcast, which you can find on any major outlet